So in this video, I'm going to be talking to you about how do you achieve high status in society. And I've written down 15 strategies that you could use to achieve high status in society. Any environment that you go to, if you employ these 15 strategies on a daily basis, you would accomplish high status, you would increase your income, you would gain a lot of influence, and you would have a lot of control in the environment, and people would give you authority. People would almost submit to your authority and see you as an authority figure, which would lead to power, which would lead to influence, which would lead to acquisition of resources, some dating opportunities, and it starts to go into an upward spiral, especially once you understand these strategies. So I have written down 15 of them. I will be elaborating on them, so make sure you stick till the end to get the most value, and let's get started. And status is something that is multifaceted. It's never just one reason why somebody becomes high status. There is a multifaceted reasons why somebody achieves high status. Anybody's power, somebody who is extremely powerful, it's unlikely that it happened because of one reason. There is a multifaceted approach to this. So I've written down 15 strategies. Let's get started. Number one is dress for super success. And this is probably one of the most important one, is that you have to dress for super success. Not everybody can see what you have in the bank account. Not everybody can see what type of assets that you have. All of that information is private. And even for very public individuals, you do not actually have the visibility on how much money they have, what type of assets they have. And a lot of the times what people do is they look at the person and they make a judgment. And what you want is to look for, what you want from people is for them to look at you and see you and perceive you as someone high status. If you are wearing a suit which is worth a couple of $1,000s, you're wearing a nice watch, some of the people wear $100,000 watches, you have nice shoes, that itself is a status signal. And a lot of it cannot be fake, because if you have a couple of $1,000 worth of suits, you tend to make decent income. If you make decent income, you are a valuable member of the society, and that increases status. And the whole point of doing this is so that you don't have to talk too much and qualify too much about who you are and what you do. Just the visual appearance can establish who you are and command respect. So you want suits that are a little bit premium, expensive. I would highly recommend to stretch the budget. Go for something a little bit outside of your comfort zone, something that sets you apart. We don't want to fit in here. High status is not about fitting with everybody, wearing a dull suit which does not command attention, does not command respect, and it's going to be extremely discomforting, uncomfortable. You will get very uncomfortable when people look at you, because you walk into a hotel, a top hotel, and people will start to actually notice you and look at you, and it can get very uncomfortable because you may not have the postures down, you may not have the hand gestures down, you may not have your communication skill down, and people watching you and watching every movement that you have can be uncomfortable. But this is one of the things that absolutely changed my life. I was denied entry into one of the most basic clubs in Dubai, where anybody would be allowed. It's an open club. But because I was wearing some, harem pants, those days I was a lot into yoga, so I was wearing harem pants. It was a beach club, so I just walked in and I was actually denied entry in that. And I went from that to getting into top nightclubs, top restaurants, top high-end bars in UAE, including Zuma, La Petite Maison, Nobu, and all of these places. So having a nice suit purely got me in a lot of the places. One time I went to Zuma on New Year's, and you were supposed to have a girl. At that time, I was with a friend and we wanted to hang out with each other. So we entered, and the guide allowed me just because of my suit, my 3-piece suit. And even my friend wasn't wearing good clothing, but he allowed him because of the dress code. He looked at me and he stopped a lot of people, but he allowed me. And that's a status signal. So this is really a superpower. Treat it like a superpower. Dress for super success. Wear a 3-piece suit, a tie, and a pocket square, and let me know how people treat you. Get a nice one. Okay, number 2, have a vision. People who don't have a vision are not really grounded. They don't really know where their life is headed. So it gives them a lack of purposefulness, and it makes them available for other people to control them. So if you don't have any vision, any plan for the day, it's very likely that you would become a part of someone else's plan. Maybe you would end up watching a TV show, whatever it is. You would just fall into some trap, and you would fall into somebody else's control if you don't have a vision for your life. You would end up working on someone else's vision if you don't have one of your own. Because if you don't have a plan for yourself, the society does. Your parents have a plan for you, your friends have a plan for you, your employer has a plan for you, and they've already made up their mind about what you would be doing for them. So for example, my mother expects me to get married, have kids, so that she could be a grandmother, right? She just wants to be a grandmother, and she has a plan for me. If I don't have my own vision of what I want to do in my life, I would fall into her plan. My brother, he has a plan for me. He wants me to help him in his company, use my valuable skills to make him rich. He has a plan for me. Some of my friends want me to join me for a party and entertain them with my jokes and stories. Or teach them how to meet women. So that's their plan for me, right? Top influencers or top entertainers have a plan for me that I would watch their show, get entertained, and so on. So if you don't have a vision, if you don't have a plan, it's very likely someone else has a plan for you, and they will easily pull you in their direction if you don't have a strong enough vision. So actually having a vision creates status. Having a vision, having that purpose, that productive purpose. And when you create a vision, it's really in your interest. When you create a vision, it has to be in your interest. So you're working towards your interest, and you're working towards putting yourself in a powerful position. And that's having a vision. It's extremely important. Having goals and visions is important. So that's number 2. Number 3 is create powerful alliances. Once you have a vision, you will have to find people that are aligned with those visions, or that can help you fulfill that vision. You may want to travel the world. You may want to start a company. You may want to create $1 billion company. And if you don't have that vision, you cannot really create alliances based on the vision. So vision is very fundamental. Once you have that, then you can find people who are aligned with that vision, who will help you fulfill that vision. I created a vision of building a $1 billion company. And as a result, I was looking for people who have already done that. And I found one individual who is now my business partner. He was a CEO of a $3.5 billion company. Now, at the time, $1 billion felt like trying or attempting to build a $1 billion company seemed like out of reach. When I did create my vision, I had no skills and I was really struggling. So even for me to think about such a possibility was just out of question. So for me to think about it, I thought about it, even though it felt like it was never going to happen, though it felt like it was impossible, I still thought about it. And as a result, I eventually, in a couple of months' time, I found the necessary skills to be able to do it, and I found a business partner, not just one, but several business partners who had been around billion-dollar companies and had participated in creation of billion-dollar companies. And that wasn't a coincidence. I had a vision, and hence I created alliances based on that vision. So having a vision is important. And then the third is creating alliances. Number 4, this is an interesting one. Have beautiful women in your circle. These could be, the ones that you want to date, or the ones that you are dating, or just your female friends. It's so invaluable, the value that a very beautiful, attractive woman can bring to you. Just her presence is valuable in the society. That's the way it is. Beauty is valuable. Beauty in anything is valuable, actually. Beautiful things like a penthouse sells for a lot of money because it's beautiful. Clothing, if they are beautiful, it has a lot of value. Flowers have a lot of value. Nature has a lot of value, right? These things are beautiful. Interior design has a lot of value because it's beautiful. People value beautiful things. When people value beautiful people, look at the celebrities. Just to look at them on screen, and the kind of work that goes into manufacturing that beauty, there is a whole industry around it, and people love it. So beautiful women next to you is like a superpower. I remember I was having a dinner with a Ukrainian fitness coach who I was dating at the time. She was my girlfriend, and I was at a high-end restaurant, and there was this minister who was having dinner, and downstairs he had like 15 bodyguards. So I entered the lobby. There are 15 bodyguards and guns, and I see this famous minister having food. And just because I was dressed well and I was with a really attractive woman, he kept looking at our table over and over again. And this is the type of guy, people who walk into his table and trying to get his autograph, but he was looking at our table, and it's because I had a beautiful woman next to me. Similarly, the community that I live, I was taking a walk on the golf course, and when I walk alone, believe it or not, sometimes people look, sometimes don't, but when I walk with a beautiful woman, people start responding and looking at me, and people would want to associate with you. People would want to get to know you, because when you have a vote of confidence from a beautiful woman, beautiful women have a lot of options. So when you have a vote of confidence and trust from a beautiful woman, that is a sign that you have a lot of value, and people assign a lot of value to that. I remember I once introduced my ex-girlfriend to one of my directors, and he was just blown away. He just saw her and he was like, like this. He was like, this says a lot about you. Your woman says a lot about you. Because a woman, firstly, is a sign of your own self-esteem. I have to have self-esteem to be able to talk to a woman like that, hold my ground. And second, she, having all the options she has, choosing me is a big statement. So that's a sign of high status. If you walk into an environment with a beautiful woman, it makes a huge difference. Whether this is your friend or a girlfriend, that depends. But still, even if it's a friend, it can add a lot of value. I had one friend who was a Romanian runway model that I was dating, and then we are still friends. And I went into a yoga retreat with her, and everybody was looking at me and her. And I can assure you that if it was just me, maybe some people would look at me, but because I was with her, next to her, there was this presence, this electrifying, we were commanding attention, and I would give her the credit for that. So it makes a big difference having beautiful women. You probably already knew that, but I just wanted to mention it to highlight that. Number 5, discover your talents and showcase them. So you must discover your talents. Maybe you're good at telling jokes. Maybe you're good at singing, whatever it is. You have to develop those talents even more and then showcase them in public. And that's what a celebrity is, whether it's a DJ, musician, comedian. You look at Matt Rife, just this one skill of telling jokes has made him tens of millions of dollars, gotten him fame, probably countless number of dates and vote of women. His shows are full. I mean, it's gone outrageous. Podcasts, connections. And this happens not just at the global level, but even at the social level. People who can tell stories and jokes can be in very positions of power. So I have one of the directors. He's really humorous and he's really funny and he tells a lot of good stories. Every single time, this director, he's a CEO. He was a CEO of a major healthcare company. He has 30 years of experience in healthcare. And a lot of the conversations in business can be very dry. But every time I talk to this person, he has stories and jokes for me. And apart from the business, obviously. So I'm always looking forward to seeing him. And this could be also a very effective strategy to remain at a board. Board of companies can be very dry group of people, right? It's very strategic. So if there is somebody who is very humorous, that person is less likely to get fired, believe it or not. But that person is less likely to get fired because nobody wants to be at the board meeting, let me tell you. I mean, people are interested, they are involved, don't get me wrong. Maybe I exaggerated a little bit, but people want that time to also be entertaining because it's also a game, right? Business is a game and people want to be entertained. So the value of entertainment in today's time is extremely high. So if you have any of those talents of storytelling and jokes, they go a long way, even in the corporate world, and will increase your status for sure. Number 6 is get rid of low status people. In 2016, I was in Europe. I went to Europe with a couple of my low status friends who did not know how to behave in public, but they were my childhood friends and I was loyal to my childhood friends at that time. And I said, okay, let me go on this trip with them. I was really reluctant because I knew that it would reduce my perceived status and I would not get some of the dating opportunities that Europe has to offer. Some of the most beautiful women I've met are from Europe. So I was really going there for women, to be honest. And for me to have a group of 8 guys from childhood who don't know how to conduct themselves, not all of them, but 1 or 2 were really nasty. We were sitting in a cafe and there was this one beautiful girl who sat at the table next to us, and everybody was a little bit silent. And this girl started to look at me. I was dressed well, I looked good, and she started to look at me. And that was an opportunity for me after some time, once I get comfortable, to ask for a phone number. In those days, I used to be a little bit nervous. And one of my friends at the time started to make like really weird noises, really like funny, weird villager noises. Okay. And he was doing as a joke, but he kept doing it. And then he started to talk about her in our local language that I understood. But that just started to put this vibe off that completely put her off. And she started off being interested in me, I could tell. And then she immediately got put off and eventually she left. And that's a classic example of if you associate with low status people, you would be perceived as low status and it'll bring your value down. Niccolo Machiavelli said that you could estimate an emperor's strength or power based on the people he chooses to associate with. So who you are seen with makes a big difference. There is no such thing as neutral people. Either people will add to your status or take away from it. And in this case, this friend of mine took away from my status and actually got me to lose that opportunity. And that could be a very valuable connection. I could have had a romantic relationship. I don't know what possibility that relationship could have brought for me, But just that little incident is a classic example of not hanging around with low status people. I'm proud to say that I'm not at all in touch with most of my childhood friends. I'm only in touch with one who is not in touch with anybody else. So it's just me and him. He's into mergers and acquisitions. I'm into mergers and acquisitions. And we are into similar things. We talk, but he's not low status. Anyway, so I know it's a little bit challenging to categorize your friends as low status or high status, but that's part of life. Most of the billionaires, a lot of them aren't friends with their childhood. They aren't friends with, who they were with in their childhood. So you have to be very careful on associating with low status people. They would bring you down for sure. They would. If I met the CEO of the $3.5 billion company in Burj Al Arab, the 7-star hotel in 2019 end. And this guy, he's the CEO of a second largest telecom company in UAE, which was owned by the government. It was a publicly listed company, and the revenues of that company are $3.5 billion. This guy looks like an emperor. Okay, he had thousands of people working under him. He was reporting to the highest ranking royal family members. And if I had any of my childhood friends in that environment that day, this guy would not be my business partner. If I had any of the childhood friends that I had or I was previously associated with before, if any one of them were there, this guy would have judged me based on my company, and I would not have had him as a business partner. I wasn't with him. I was wearing a nice 3-piece suit. I was with my brother, who was also wearing a nice suit. We went there like serious entrepreneurs, and we gave a very good impression. So it's very important who you associate with. You don't have to feel guilty about not bringing certain people. It's fine to categorize them and put them in their place. There is a time and place to meet these people, but not in high stakes environment and not in high status environments. I'm sorry if this sounds superficial, but this is true. This is the fact of life. Number 7 is visualize success. So a lot of the times you may not be in the financial position yet that you want to be. You may not be in a position of being famous. You may not have a company. You may not have anything. But before you achieve anything, you should visualize it as if you've already had it. And what that would do is it would put you in that state of mind as if you've already achieved it. And your body language would change, your vocal projection would change, your facial expressions would change, and the way you would carry yourself would change. What I had started to practice when I would enter into business meetings, even though I didn't feel confident, even though at that time I hadn't achieved much and I was building myself, I would visualize myself being a $1 billion company founder or managing director, like a president of a $1 billion company. I would really close my eyes and visualize it in the car before I would get to that meeting. I would visualize this in my mind. And by the time I would get down, I would walk different. And by the time I would enter the venue, I would be totally different. And I have had people give me this feedback, the ones that I did the meeting with. They said, Prithvi, I think you're going to be a billionaire. I can see it. So that's the feedback people give. It's because of the visualization process, I start showing up like that. So visualization is extremely key. That can change your posture, that can change the way people perceive you, and that can enhance your status. So visualize success. That's number 7. Number 8, get financially educated. There's nothing attractive or high status about being financially stupid. You look at someone like Donald Trump, who is extremely financially sophisticated. You look at Warren Buffett, or, even Elon Musk. These people are financially sophisticated. They know how to use various financial maneuvers to increase enhance their financial positions. And having enhanced financial positions or tremendous financial capability increases the level of options you have, resources you have, the level of control you can have over the environment. And financial education allows you to understand the flows of money, and where the money is moving, how it's moving, and, getting financially educated and why money moves in certain directions and certain places. So understanding all of that increases your status. Some of the most high status people in the world are very financially educated. And even if there is a superstar, who got rich by talent, if they don't develop financial education, eventually they will not remain high status. How many celebrities have you seen that achieve status because of talent alone, and then they lose it because they're not financially educated? They spend money on the wrong things that go down in value, that doesn't produce cash flow. They live to just impress other people, and they don't invest things in the right places. And they are a lot of the times misguided by bad financial advisors, so they can't spot the difference between good financial advisor and bad. And all of this is a result of lack of financial education. And what happens is the money that they made it at their peak, and now is the time to invest and diversify, and they don't know how to do that. They don't have the financial education, and they lose it all. And they also lose that peak that they had because, life is finite, and you have these peaks where you make most of the money, and that's the time where after that you should reallocate it, but you can only do it when you have financial education. So having financial education will increase your status. And if you don't have the money, you can understand how to get it. Next is have multiple sources of income. So if you just have a job, it's not enough, because that would not put you in a high status position. First of all, you are being controlled by one company, you have one resource, you have one income coming in. And if that's your only source of income, then you don't have a lot of resources, you have limited control, and you have to compromise on a lot of things in your life. Every month you have a budget, and there are only so many things you can do with that money. And as a result, you cannot get access to opportunities. You cannot get access to education. You cannot get access to so many forms of power that you could have had access to if you had just maybe an extra source of income. So having multiple sources of income doesn't mean it has to be a second job. It could be a small business. It could be an online business. It could be some consulting work. It could be something related to marketing or sales. It could be anything. But having multiple sources of income kind of diversifies your financial position from just being dependent on one company, and actually increases your standing even in that company. Because if you're not financially desperate, you tend to take good decisions even in that company, and you have more negotiation power because you're willing to walk away because you're standing on two sources of income or multiple sources of income, right? If you're in mergers and acquisitions or real estate, every company you buy or every property you buy, you're creating multiple sources of income. So that'll enhance your status significantly, actually. So that's having multiple sources of income. Most of the billionaires have multiple sources of income. If you look at Donald Trump's portfolio, it's real estate, hotels, casinos, his TV show Apprentice, his private clubs, his golf courses. I mean, it's all over the place, right? Brand endorsements. He can sell his brand, leverage that. It's just endless. So you may not have all of them right now, but you can start to create it and think in that direction and actually develop a plan and a strategy to be able to achieve that. Then you've got build leadership skills. Most of the high status people are actually in leadership positions. Even celebrities, they are in leadership positions. CEOs are in leadership positions. Founders of companies are in leadership positions. Look at Steve Jobs. His main skill wasn't tech. His main skill was leadership. Elon Musk, main skill is leadership, very strong on that. Warren Buffett is also strong on leadership. Jack Welch, leadership. Tom Cruise, leadership. Todd Phillips, leadership. Christopher Nolan, leadership. All of these people have leadership skills. Dan Pena, my mentor, leadership skills. And my chairman, who was a CEO of a $3.5 billion company, leadership. Build leadership skills. Leadership is when you can influence people to take action, and the action that you want them to take. And how do you do that? And if you know how to do that, you can actually influence hundreds of people. You can create organizations. You can manage organizations. Those people are very rare who can lead other people, who can influence and inspire other people to take action without oppressing them. Right? How do you influence people, masses of people, to take action? And these leadership positions are very well paid, and these are very high status and highly influential positions. A lot of the people in these positions, even though they are not owners of the company, let's say the CEO is not the owner of the company, a lot of the times these CEOs end up building their own companies because they have these leadership skills. So build leadership skills. Get into public speaking. That's number 11. The most high status person in an event is the one on the stage. And that's the person who has the most amount of influence. If you look at even the social media space, people who can talk in front of the camera, that's public speaking, have a lot of influence and can increase their status. If you can get exposure to a lot of people in a short period of time, which is what public speaking is, getting a lot of exposure to a lot of people in a short period of time. If you can have that, that could be a very powerful form of status. Some of the most influential people are public speakers. So that's a very important skill, and actually it's a very high income skill. Typically public speakers make a lot of money, whether it's in a company, you're doing public speaking, or you're speaking at events, or you're a social media influencer, or you're speaking in front of a camera like I am right now, or in any place. If you are someone who speaks with the public, one-to-many communication, that's a very high income skill, and that will enhance your status and bring in a lot of opportunities, because you are in the minds of many people and they would consider you and look at you very favorably and consider you for many opportunities. And a lot of opportunities will come when you expose yourself like that. It's scary, I know, but that's one of the skills that you could build that will pay off in a big way, is public speaking. And it's a little bit challenging because we were told to shut our mouth, right? So to open that communication, to have that voice, can be a little bit challenging to develop, but you can do it. Number 12 is get into entrepreneurship. As I was mentioning, when you're doing a job, you're actually under someone else's control. You are in someone else's reality. You're part of someone else's vision. They have control over you. They decide how much money you make, what hours you work, what clothes you wear, when you come in, when you go out. And a lot of the times they will even shout at you, even though it wasn't your fault. All of this affects your mind. All of this affects your spirit. All of this affects your mood, and it further and further puts you in a bad position. And also there is a dependency dynamic that happens with the company, and any kind of dependency can turn into exploitation and abuse. And all of this can and will lead to lack of power and ultimately low status. So entrepreneurship is the only area where you have the control. You have power and you have a lot of influence, and it's actually your vision and it's your reality that other people become a part of. So it's very difficult to raise your status as an employee. At some point, you would have to either reach higher ranks in the company, which a lot of the people do, but a very viable course of action would be to get into entrepreneurship. And the sooner that transition happens, the better. So being an entrepreneur, some of the most high status people are entrepreneurs, and they are the ones who are visionaries, who are leaders in the world. So getting into entrepreneurship will be and can be a pathway to high status. And because you have control over your income, you have influence over a lot of decisions, and you have a lot of power. And again, great power comes with great responsibility and great risk also. So you would have to get a lot of skills to get into entrepreneurship. It's not an easy sport, but being high status is a high pressure thing. So some people enjoy it. I love it. And I don't mind it. So get into entrepreneurship if you want to increase your status. Number 3, develop money skills. So this is number 13, sorry, not 3. Number 13, develop money skills. What are money skills? Anytime money is exchanged in the world, what is the process when that happens? If you don't know the process, how the money is changed, then how are you going to make the money, right? So the process is marketing, sales, negotiation, in that order. If you do marketing, you will get into a sales conversation, and then you would have a negotiation on the price and terms. So sales, marketing, negotiations is a vital money skill. And most of the people who make a lot of money are actually marketing guys. Believe it or not, Donald Trump is a big marketing guy. He understands marketing, and marketing is a superpower. So marketing is a big money skill. Sales is a big money skill, but marketing is very, very powerful. And if you do good marketing and good sales, you could get into negotiations and close the deal. So negotiating is also, it goes hand in hand with sales, but negotiation is also a very powerful skill. How much resource you have depends on your negotiation skills, and what type of power you achieve in the world also depends on negotiation skills. Anytime you are in a dynamic where you are trying to acquire more power, you will see there will be guards around the power. Somebody else occupies that position. So how do you negotiate with them and persuade them to take their position is up to negotiation. So, learn many money skills, which is sales, marketing, negotiation. Okay. Next is number 14 is build a solid social media presence. In today's time, media is a superpower. Gone are the days of visiting cards. These days, even bankers, a lot of them I've seen, they walk into a meeting and they show me their card. Now, in the context of banking, that makes sense. But most of the time, your social media presence is your visiting card these days. People want to look you up on Google. People will check your Facebook profiles. People will check your Instagram profiles, and they will make an assessment about who you are. So you want to build a solid social media presence which commands respect, which commands some of the accomplishments that you've had, highlights of your life, important events, important things that you've done. I remember when I would hang out with my chairman. Before I would go to the meeting, I would just quickly check his social media, and I would look at the kind of powerful people he has been around. He's been around Richard Branson, Obama, top high-ranking royal family members, including the ruler of Dubai, Sheikh Mohammed. He has a picture with him. His son, Sheikh Hamdan, he has a picture with him. And all of this, establishes who he is for me. And when I meet him, I already have that impression of him. So it's a very powerful tool. And when I would meet him a couple of years ago, when I did not have the comfort, I was extremely nervous, anxious, and I had a lot of respect for him. So all of that happened because he had a strong social media presence. And a lot of the times we do have accomplishments, but we haven't showcased them. We think it's too much braggadocious. We don't want to showcase them. So make sure if you have some accomplishments, you showcase them and make sure they're significant. And then you showcase them. If you don't have accomplishments, get some, and get the camera ready, orchestrate a situation where you can take a picture, because with every event that happens in your life, you could add that to your media presence, and it'll make a big difference for your career and your status. So building a solid social media presence. Number 15 is dine at the top venues, dine at the fine dine restaurants. This will also increase your status, because when you enter into a high-end venue, you first of all, you look at the decor, you look at the staff, beautiful staff. You get used to that environment. You see how a lot of other refined people go to that environment, and you get to see, how they eat, how they sit, various mannerisms, facial expressions, all of these subtle gestures. It's weird for me to say this, but it has got an energy and this atmosphere in the room, and all of that rubs off. If you travel in a bus, in a crowded bus, all of that rubs off. You may have dressed up really well, you get into this bus, get out, you're a different person, because everybody's energy has rubbed off on you. But the same thing happens in a high-end restaurant. When you go to a high-end restaurant, all of that atmosphere rubs on you, and something happens to your energy, where even the next day you walk, you're walking around, people can feel that vibe, people can feel that energy, because emotions are contagious, and so is power, and so is wealth. If you hang around people who with money, power, wealth, influence, you tend to absorb their presence, their energy, and that influences you. So hanging around in top restaurants, top venues, top locations, you should make a list of them in your country, in your city, and go there. Whenever you travel, look at the most uncomfortable, obnoxious, ridiculously priced, super private, very well known restaurant which has a lot of authority, and go have dinner there. And instead of having fast food every day, you go once in a while and have amazing experience, this whole fine dine experience. Dress up for it, go for it, and see how you feel about it. Okay, next is stay fit and healthy. Okay, number 16 is stay fit and healthy. Now, this is probably the most neglected one. But if you're not healthy and fit, then you're not going to look good. If you don't look good, your perceived status will go down. How many times we have seen someone who's really, really overweight, and the clothes don't look good on them, and they look like a mess, even though they are not a mess, but they look like a mess. Now, if you're someone who is a powerful figure, who is already financial success and fame and respect, this is not as important. Losing weight is not as important, but staying healthy is extremely important. How many times have we seen celebrities lose their entire career because they couldn't stop drinking? It happens all the time. And typically you could assign their failure to bad habits, and mostly they are health habits. Status is comprised of your assets, and your body is your fundamental asset. Your mind is your fundamental asset. If you don't have these assets in order, all your other assets are affected in life. So you want to make sure you take care of your body, you take care of your mind. And I have a bonus one for you. Number 17 would be travel. Travel to nice locations, travel to luxurious places. And that would give you a lot of exposure into different cultures, and will enhance your ability to interact with a broad audience, and will make you into a social chameleon, which will increase your status. For example, I hadn't traveled anywhere. The first time I traveled when I was 14, I was fortunate that my mother won a ticket to Dubai. And when I entered that place, I saw every supercar that was my favorite that I would see when I was playing Need for Speed. I saw every supercar there. I went to the top restaurants and top hotels. I got that exposure early on. And I saw how CEOs, high-profile CEOs dress up, walk, what clothes they wear, what type of women they had next to them. And all of that influenced me. When I went to France, I saw that many men were dressed in a highly fashionable way. The way they walked, the way they talked, the poise and everything was completely different than what I was used to. They were super sophisticated, the way they moved their fingers, the way they ate food, the way they communicated with their loved one in a cafe. Even walking on the street, looking around, I learned so many things from that culture, from the French culture. When I went to Sweden, I got exposure to beauty, right? Swedish women are probably the most beautiful in the world. And I got that exposure from there, and I wanted to have beautiful women. So traveling always will open up something for you. Recently, I went to United States of America. I went to Hollywood, and I rented a Hollywood mansion for a day. And that completely opened up my mind, right? Exposure is very key, because you always want to show yourself what is possible. What else is there? What else way of life is there? And if you don't have an exposure to that, then you can't really think about it in your mind. And it's not enough to look at it from your phone, getting exposure from your phone, although that is also important, but it's important to go there. When you go there, you discover something totally different. So travel to places and get exposure to things. It'll really anchor your mind, and it'll change the way you think, and something will shift in you when you explore a new culture. So that would also increase your status. So those are the 16 to 17 points, strategies that you could use to achieve high status. So if you like the video, hit that subscribe button, give it a thumbs up, and let me know what you think in the comment section. If you have any stories that showed up while you were listening, tell me what they were. I'll read it, and hopefully I'll reply to you. I'll talk to you soon.